Hello and welcome to today's video where I'll be unboxing ohuhu markers that I just got. I was really excited to finally get some markers because I never really used them, but I've always wanted to. I got the 160 pack of markers. It comes with a lot of variety, so I was really excited to swatch all these colors and see how they looked. The colors don't come already organized, but the good thing is that the swatch cards organize the color groups, so the markers are really easy to organize once you swatch all of them. The markers are also dual tip, so there's a thin side and a broad side, so you can choose either for if you want to quickly color in large sections or if you need to go into small details, so that's really cool. I also never use markers, so at first the swatching felt weird, but with alcohol markers, sometimes you have to slow down to get the ink to come out juicier, and some markers are just naturally more inky than others, but overall the markers come out really smooth and they blend into themselves really nicely, so there's not any splotches left behind. Another thing that I like about these markers is that there's a lot of variety in the colors for the 160 pack. For each color, there's a lot of different shades to choose from, and that's really good for blending because there's a lot of transition tones. The first swatch card, as you can see, it has all the warm colors, so there's a ton of yellows, there's a couple oranges, and then there's a lot of pinks. There's some reds. There's not too many oranges, but I feel like the other warm tones make up for it because there's so many yellows and reds and pinks. And that's all for the first swatch card. Next was more purples, blues, yeah. And again, there's so many different undertones for each color, which makes it hard to even pick a color because there's so many choices. But you can see there's red purples, blue purples, you'll see blue greens and all of those kind of blends. Also, the dual tip is so useful because they offer really different textures. You can see that I'm alternating between the fine tip and the broad tip. The broad end feels really soft and it pushes out a lot of ink, but the fine end is thin and more tough, and for a lot of the markers, the fine end isn't as inky, so you can really have more control with that end and pick whichever side best suits your work. The second swatch card contains a lot of different color groups. It has some reds, purples, blues, and greens, so you can really see how much variety of color there is with this one swatch card. Side note, green has really been growing on me lately, so I was really happy with the selection of green. I love that pale green up there. I also like the dark green, the deep olive green, so the greens are really good in this collection. And we are on to our third swatch card. It starts out with some more greens and then it goes into the earth tones. And just wait until you see all of the earth tones because there's a lot. Guys, I was so happy with how many earth tones there are because I do a lot of portraits and it's so convenient having a lot of skin tones to work with. There's a lot of different skin tones and I like that a lot of them have different undertones. So I'm excited to do some portraits with these soon. Like, look at how many slots there are for earth tones. Like, they almost fill up an entire swatch card by themselves. I'm not even going to know which ones to pick for each portrait because there's such a variety. So I'm really happy with all the colors in this pack. And I would definitely recommend it if you're interested in marker drawings and especially portraits. Next up, I had to swatch all the grays, and there was a lot of grays. I didn't record most of them because I thought gray isn't that interesting to watch, but there were so many grays. I was impressed by like the undertones of them. They have like blue grays, neutral grays, white grays, all that. And then finally, they have some highlighter colors. They have a yellow, orange, a pinkish red, or like two pinkish reds, and then finally black. So that's all with the swatching. I was so happy with all the colors. And as I mentioned before, the markers come very unorganized originally, but since I did all the swatching, I got them in the correct order, and it was satisfying to fill them back up all together. Okay, I'm gonna try drawing this cute little strawberry that I got on vacation and see how it goes. Another thing to mention is that they send this divider with the markers and you can put it in between the pages to prevent the markers bleeding through. It's kind of small, it's smaller than my sketchbook pages, but it's still useful to keep your sketchbook neater. Anyway, I just wanted to swatch some reds and greens to see how they look next to each other before I started this strawberry. So you can see me swatching the colors here that I'll be using in the strawberry drawing. At first, I thought it would be really easy to draw this strawberry with markers because it doesn't have too much detail, it just requires blending of colors. But then I realized with markers that's kind of the hard part because I didn't want there to be any splotches. So while drawing, I realized that it's much better to work fast and make sure that your markers are still wet so that you can blend them smoother. I also realized that it's really beneficial to use the broad side of the marker when working with a large area like this, which is kind of the point, but yeah, I really realized how good the broad tip is while working on this simple drawing. Another thing that I think really helps with the blending is using a lighter color on top of the entire drawing so that the colors blend together more. But my only warning is if you do this too much, you might not have as much contrast in your drawing, which is what I think happened with mine in the end. So yeah, I learned a lot from this little drawing. Also, I learned this the hard way, but with markers, if you have a part of the drawing that you want to leave white or lighter than the rest, make sure that you don't put a darker color down first. If you add the lighter color on top, it will make it lighter, but it just ends up looking messy. I tried to put a light color on top of the red for the seeds of the strawberry because I tried that while swatching and it kind of worked, but overall it just looks messier than if I would have left a space for the seeds. So it's not a big deal, but just something to note. My next test for drawing with these markers was drawing an eye. I felt like this was a good way to get used to them because eye drawings are simple and something that I'm very used to. I feel like so many artists just draw eyes when they don't know what else to draw, and I'm no different. I also wanted to draw an eye because I do a lot of portraits, and this was a more simple way to start using the skin tones. So for this drawing, I used the fine tip a lot more than with the strawberry drawing because there's a lot more small details, so it was nice getting to use both sides of the marker and see what kind of drawings work best with all the different elements of it. There's a lot of skin tones to choose from, so it's really nice blending with them since there are so many transitional shades, like more than you can even choose from for all the skin tones. So overall, my experience using ohuhu markers for the first time was really good. I would definitely recommend them if you're interested in drawing or trying out markers. I'm definitely no expert at markers, I barely ever use them, but that will definitely change now because I'm excited to start drawing portraits with them and just random things I like drawing like frogs or mushrooms. So this is your reminder to try something new, experiment with your art, and get creative. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and let me know your thoughts on ohuhu markers if you've ever tried them. Have an amazing day.